The wind howled across the desolate plains as dusk settled in, painting the horizon with hues of blood red and gold, a sky that seemed to burn as fiercely as the cries that pierced through the fading light. Cries that belonged to a woman trapped in the old barn at the edge of town, a barn whose weathered wood and sagging beams had long been abandoned. Except tonight it was not abandoned, tonight it was a cage. Inside, the woman's voice cracked with desperation, her wrists bound and her spirit trembling. Yet she did not surrender. Though the stench of hay and smoke clung to her lungs, though fear pressed against her ribs like iron shackles, out on the dirt road a lone rider reined in his horse, his jaw tightening as he heard what others ignored, his ears catching the desperate sound, his heart refusing to leave it unanswered. He was a cowboy forged by hardship and silence, a man who carried scars both on his skin and deep within. And though the town whispered of his restless past, tonight he carried only one truth. No cry for help would go unanswered while he still drew breath. He dismounted in one swift motion, boots striking the ground like thunder, spurs clinking as he stalked toward the barn, his eyes narrowing against the flicker of shadows that moved behind the slats. With each step his fury grew, for he could see the faint glow of lantern light, could hear the mocking voices of men who thought cruelty was a weapon and power was theirs to wield unchecked. His hand brushed the worn handle of his revolver, but he did not draw it yet. Tonight was not about the quick pull of a trigger, but the breaking of chains, the tearing down of walls that held the innocent captive. He pressed his palm to the barn door, the wood splintering under his strength as he tested its give. And then he heard it again, the scream sharper this time, rawer, a plea that sliced through the marrow of his bones. "Hold on," he muttered, his voice low but steady, like a vow spoken not just to her but to the world, a promise carved in stone. He drew back, muscles coiling, and then with a ferocious roar, he drove his shoulder against the rotting wood, the planks shattering in a storm of splinters, the hinges shrieking as the door burst open. Dust swirled in the lantern light, the cruel laughter of the men, dying in their throats as they turned to face, not a weary drifter but a storm. Given flesh, a cowboy whose blue steel gaze left no room for doubt, no room for mercy. The woman gasped, eyes wide as hope flooded her chest for the first time that night, tears streaking her dirt-stained face, her heart thundering not in fear but in the sudden, impossible relief that someone had come for her. The cowboy stepped through the wreckage of the broken door, his frame filling the barn with the weight of justice, his voice slicing through the air as sharp and final as the crack of a whip. "She's free now," he declared, his tone iron and fire all at once, a sentence not of suggestion but of law, a law older than any sheriff's badge, older than any court, the law of honor, of protection, of a man standing between darkness and the innocent. The men faltered, their bravado withering in the presence of something they could neither intimidate nor defeat, for they saw in him not just a cowboy but a reckoning, and in that instant their cruelty unraveled like smoke in the wind. He cut her bonds with swift precision, his rough hands gentle as they brushed against her trembling wrists, and when she looked into his eyes, she saw not just a rescuer but a soul who had known cages of his own, who understood what it meant to be broken and yet still choose to stand. "You're safe," he whispered, steadying her as she rose on unsteady legs, and though her body ached and her spirit was bruised, in his presence she felt a strength rise in her, a strength that reminded her she was more than what had been done to her, that freedom was not just a word but a fire she could carry within. Together they stepped into the night air, the barn behind them trembling with the echoes of what had been broken, and as the stars stretched wide across the endless sky, she breathed for the first time as though the world belonged to her again. The cowboy tipped his hat, a quiet smile ghosting his lips, and though he asked for no thanks, though he sought no praise, the truth lingered in the silence. Heroes were not born from glory but from choice, the choice to act when others stood still. And so the legend of that night would spread through the town like wildfire, a tale whispered in saloons and carved into memory, the story of a cowboy who broke the door of a burning fear and spoke the words that gave a woman back her life. And to you, the one hearing this story now, if it stirred your heart, if it made you feel the fire of freedom, courage, and the strength of standing up against darkness, then ride with us again, subscribe to this channel, join the journey, and never miss a tale where justice, love, and the untamed spirit of the Wild West come alive before your very eyes.